Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Transportation and Road Improvement Committee meeting for February 11th, 2019. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Chairman Mills.
Present.
Vice Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. Look for a motion to approve the minutes of January 14th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any corrections noted? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. This evening, we've got two items under new business. Number one, request approval of a supplement to the engineering contract with Trans Systems Incorporated for additional Phase 1 and Phase 2 services on the Shoe Factory Road I-90 Bicycle and Pedestrian Project in an amount not to exceed $60,831.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Staff, did you wish to address this?
Just very briefly, it's a long history project. This is our ITEP Transportation Enhancement Program funded project, which has two parts. One is a paving of the gravel or earth trail in the forest preserve between 59 and the CN tracks. And then the second component is the north-south piece, which goes from Shoe Factory Road up into Prairie Stone Parkway. Due to the lengthy discussions and not much progress made with CN, IDOT has agreed to allow the project to be split into two pieces for purposes of design and construction. So our goal is to advance the east-west portion. This is paving the gravel path within the forest preserve, to get that to an IDOT letting in September of this year, which would allow the funds to still be utilized. In order to make that schedule, we need to keep the consultant Trans Systems making progress with the work. So our proposal is for the village to approve the requested supplement, and we'll be reimbursed 80% of that cost. The partners actually will be reimbursed 80% for the cost of the or the share, federal share, and then the local share, 20%, is split among the Forest Preserve, Village, and Park District. So in the end, we only wind up paying 5% of the total, but in order to keep the project on schedule, we really need to advance the funds and get it to a IDOT let-in this fall.
Trustee Stanton.
Why are we advancing the funds versus Forest Preserve or Park District?
We are the contract that we have with Trans Systems is with the village. We acted as the lead agency. We've spoken with both the Park District and the Forest Preserve. They both have funds in their budgets for this year. We will have to do a revision to the intergovernmental agreement, so we will be reimbursed. It's just that there's not time to go back to the Cook County Board and the Park District Board and get those revisions made to the IGA if we're going to have any chance of making the September letting. If we don't make that letting, it's likely that the funds will go away in their entirety.
How long is it going to take to get our funds back, do you think? I mean, this is a big chunk, $60,000. We're only supposed to be spending $42,250 on the whole project.
Right. So that table on the third page of the item, that 42,000 was based upon the original scope of work, which is both the east-west and north-south legs of the path construction. The line above that is the village share for just the east-west piece. So yes, that when would we be reimbursed? Once we get the IGA approved. For example, the Park District has funds budgeted this year. We just need to get the IGA done so that they have the authority to reimburse for their share.
Of course, their share is not going to be as much as the federal share, and that's really what we want.
Right, right. So the way this is, the engineering is structured in this particular funding program is that all the engineering is paid up front, and by the local partners. And then we are essentially receive a credit of 80% towards the construction share.
Which means how long before the feds pay us back?
Well,
2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
It would probably be 2 years if I had to guess. But we would be made whole for the Park District and Forest Preserve share of this advanced cost before then.
Yeah, of course, they're going to be asking for their money back too. I mean, they're going to be
Yeah.
owed money just like we are.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is really happy about it. The two other partner agencies, though, are supportive of this approach.
Even
what-
with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and what about the trains or the Elgin? Are the
Canadian National?
Yeah, Canadian National, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
What's their idea here? Are they going to go along with it? Are they still fighting us, or what?
We've broken the project into the two parts, so the railroad is removed totally from this first component. This is just the piece in the Forest Preserve. The status of the discussions with the CN is that they still have not agreed. And if we were to ever reach some sort of agreement with the railroad, we would have to seek additional funding.
So this whole project may never be done, just half of it.
We're trying to get the half done that has the greatest chance of being done before the federal funds expire.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And the part that's being done would hook into what already exists.
Yes.
So there
that's-
is some
yes.
existing trail.
Yeah, it links,
Mr. O'Malley,
yes.
you wanted to say something?
I was just going to respond to Trustee Stanton. Even with us fronting the money, when you look at the value that we get for our share and what the project is, it's still worth it to do it, even
Okay.
to front it, even if it is 2 years, for us to return that money back. Because the federal share is the lion's share of it.
Hopefully it'll come. Yeah. Yes, Art?
I would just comment on the railroad parcel. If under the worst-case scenario, we're simply going to have to go out and find out if we can have some type of insurance coverage that would cover the risk. Right now, the problem is we don't have any coverage to cover the risk for that part of the bicycle path, so we would have to work on that.
So that's their whole problem, insurance?
Basically, the railroad is requiring an indemnification that if anybody gets hurt anywhere along those tracks, the village would indemnify them 100%.
And we're not, okay, we're responsible, they're not.
No, they could even be responsible, but we would still have to reimburse them. So even if it was something that might not have been quite on the path, like let's say somebody is on the path and a piece of metal flies off a train and hits them, then under the proposal as it's presently worded, the village would be responsible for those damages. The responsibility would be a contractual responsibility. Obviously, the negligent responsibility, if there was any, would go to the railroad. And so the problem is right now, we don't have insurance coverage for that type of risk. So we just couldn't go into something like that. I mean, even though it would be extremely, extremely rare that anything would happen, but if it would be disastrous in a financial way. So the next step is if they're not going to proceed and in requiring that we reimburse the railroad for anybody that gets hurt, even if they get hurt because of the railroad, our next step would have to be to try to find some type of insurance coverage to cover that risk.
Sounds
And
expensive.
that's where we've been, I think.
But aren't we saying right now we're only doing the part, we're not doing the part along the track, correct?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
So right now, we're just doing the other part parallel to Shoe Factory.
Yeah, my statement only went to the question of why we weren't doing
Oh,
the
okay.
railroad part
All right.
right now.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 2, review of request for turn restrictions on Rosedale Lane at Eisenhower Junior High School. And I first want to thank the Girl Scouts for coming tonight. It's thanks to you that you're even brought this to our attention, and we do appreciate your involvement on this. Staff, you want to explain what's going on?
Yes. At the beginning of the 2018-19 school year, the staff at Eisenhower School had implemented a revised circulation plan. The intent of the plan was to separate parents arriving to pick up and drop off their kids from buses that were arriving at the school. And the school's plan generally looked like it would do a good job. Part of the challenge is that it's just a suggestion to the parents at this stage, and some of the parents arriving at the school are choosing not to follow that. As a result, there's a significant amount of congestion on Hassel Road along the school and at the intersection with Rosedale Lane. When the parents are arriving to drop off their kids and when the buses are trying to leave the school property. Obviously, parents are going to be in a rush, and when they're delayed, they get a bit more impatient. There's a lot of traffic there, and I believe that if the parents did follow the school circulation plan, much of the congestion and the potential for safety concerns at the intersection and along the school could be alleviated. The item is suggesting that a turn restriction be put into place at the entrance to the school parking lot on Rosedale Lane. It's slightly modified from what the petition that the Girl Scouts had presented in a petition at the Coffee with the Board this past month asked for, which was a turn prohibition on Hassel Road turning onto Rosedale. After reviewing that request, staff had determined that that may pose an inconvenience to residents that live on Rosedale that might not otherwise be affected by a turn restriction. And we believe that a turn restriction at the parking lot entrance will be effective in helping the school to see their traffic plan be better followed, to reduce congestion at the intersection, and to promote safety along the school.
Are cars allowed to stop and park along Hassel Road there?
In front of the school on the south side of Hassel, away from the school they are.
Okay.
Along the school frontage, it's posted no stopping, standing, or parking.
So is that part of what's contributing to the problem on the corner?
It may be, we may see a problem there as a result of the congestion at the corner and on Rosedale, but I don't believe that's directly contributing to the congestion.
Okay. Is that also marked as no stopping or standing
Where's that, ma'am?
at the corner? And onto Rosedale itself?
On Rosedale, it's marked as no parking
Okay.
along the school side. We have had some cases where we have had parents, drivers, point out to officers that no parking does not prohibit stopping or standing. And I believe that the first step in addressing concerns will be to enforce the school circulation program. And once we get that in hand, I believe then that it would be appropriate to take a look at restrictions on stopping or standing or possibly further parking.
Okay. All right. I see from what I read in the packet, you've got it where it would be on school days during specific hours.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the questions I had brought up to Mr. Hankey today is you have it from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., which is fine, but the 1:30 to 2:30, aren't the kids still coming out around 2:30, that we may want to extend that time a little bit?
The release is 1:45 for early release on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And 2:15
I think we should go later than 2:30 for stragglers coming out of the building.
Okay,
You know, that might be something to consider. Be right with you. But that would be one suggestion I would have, first of all.
certainly. May I suggest that I contact school staff and see if a 15-minute extension would be appropriate? Or
Until
if we
3
should
o'clock
look-
possibly. I would say
Pardon?
maybe just do it till 3 o'clock.
Okay,
The other thing, and Mr. Henke answered my question on this today too, is I was concerned if we had the authority to ticket for no right turns from a public street to a private parking lot. But I was told that that is allowable, that the police can enforce that, because even though it's going onto private property, that wouldn't be a problem.
we have a situation very similar to this at Whiteley Elementary School.
Okay.
And the right turn prohibitions are enforceable.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Other questions from up here on the board? Trustee Gata.
Yes, you know what, just looking at this, that, first of all, will the residents of Rosedale get an idea of what we're contemplating on doing?
We can certainly contact them beforehand. Based on the scope of the changes and my discussions with school staff, we believe it may be appropriate to delay the restriction until the beginning of the coming school year.
Okay. Another question is that, and I don't know exactly how many cars are going to be there, but just looking at the diagram here, would they be blocking the driveways?
Well,
That's-
we will discuss that with the school. The school will ask the parents not to block driveways.
Okay.
And if the parents fail to follow that, call to the police may be in order. And we will be coordinating with the police department as well. If we handle it like we did at Whiteley, there'll be a few days when police are providing verbal warnings and directions to motorists, followed possibly by a week or so of citations. But your concerns are certainly noted. Unlike Whiteley, that parents will be queuing up along a street that has driveways. And we've certainly noticed that. Well, the school will ask the parents not to stop across driveways.
I mean, as far as from a safety standpoint, this is an excellent idea. And for the congestion for the street, there's no question about that whatsoever. But I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, I really would like for us to ask the school to implement this a lot sooner than September.
Okay,
I mean, we're only in February, and
Right.
it's already been a concern, and I think waiting till September is a bit long. Other questions from up here on the board? Okay, audience, if you'd wish to come forward, I ask you to introduce yourself with your name and address and make your comments. Whoops, careful.
My name is Amina.
Let's make sure that microphone's on. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going.
My name is Amina Zawahir. My address is 153 Rosedale Lane, and I go to Eisenhower Junior High as my school. And for the time limit, there's still after-school orchestra that goes till 4:15. So the parents are still turning into the parking lot from Hasselon to Rosedale. So probably a later time would be better if that would be extended.
Are they there every day?
They're there on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many students are involved with that approximately?
On Tuesdays, approximately there's like 100-ish, I'm pretty sure. And then on Thursdays, like 120 if you had the band in. And then on Thursdays, there's probably like 70.
Okay. That's good to know.
And then this is an image from us. We follow the traffic pattern, and we were probably about right over here when we were seeing this, and there's no way through, and it's just like a parking lot. So you couldn't get through there. So it really did cause congestion, making it very hard to get out of the parking lot.
Are those cars parked along the side of the street? Is that what you're showing?
I'm
Why don't you, why don't you give it to us and we can pass it around? Okay. Okay, yeah, I think we have that picture too. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments that you have? Okay. Well, thank you for coming forward.
My name is Billy Jo Zawahir, 1534 Rosedale Lane as well. One of the things, just to correct that this letter that you were speaking about implementing this year, this is my 4th year at Eisenhower for after-school orchestra. They send it to after-school orchestra and the parents. And I've received this 4 years, and it really hasn't changed. So waiting till implement to next school year isn't going to change much from status quo, but you will have, I think you'll have more cooperation with it, with the sign going up. And so I think the girls were kind of shaking that waiting till the new school year and the new crop of parents come in might make it easier to implement. And then also, as you were speaking about cars being parked in that no parking zone, they do that, and also in after-school orchestra, the no parking zone along the school. They will sit there, they'll drop off at 3:30, 3:20, they'll drop off late for orchestra, and then they'll just sit in that parking lane for 45 minutes. And we've actually messaged the police about it, and they've said they'll go look at it. But the same 4 cars will sit there every Thursday. I go in the lot because I park in the parking space. And they'll sit there, and then when after-school activities, which she didn't mention, after-school activities go until 3:50. So you have parents picking up at 3:50, and then the next round picking up at 4:15 for the orchestra and band on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it is one of the reasons we actually like your suggestion about extending the time for those activities as well.
Thank you. And I, just so you know, it's not that that staff was discounting what the girls had suggested, but it's just, they want to try and do this sectionally.
Way more elegant.
Yeah.
Like, we were concerned about impacting the neighbors
Yeah.
around there as well, and your solution is definitely more elegant than what we had come up with. But we didn't study traffic.
Because this is my personal opinion, although I do have a member.
Okay, got it, and now tell us who you are and where you live.
My name is Hetty McBellin. I live at 2167 Summersworth Place in Hoffman Estates. I, too, spent many a year going to the junior high. One thing I'm not sure if everybody's aware is that those orchestra parents are elementary school parents. They are not junior high parents. I personally have gone through at the 4 o'clock and don't have a problem, although with everything, with new elementary, because you're talking 5th grade parents and then 6th grade parents. So as a parent, if it's your first child going to orchestra, you're not acclimated. So I really liked, and I don't know if they could do this every year, if you do choose to do the later time, which, again, I didn't have the same problems. I always had that congestion problem in the morning, though. Always on Hassel, and I actually just normally go down Rosedale. I don't even try to deal with what's in front of the school because it gets really, really bad. Plus, I like to avoid school buses. But that is something where you were mentioning not necessarily ticketing right away. I think that would be a very good consideration for those new parents getting acclimated to elementary school child that is going to a junior high, that they have no clue what the junior high driving pass is other than maybe a memo from the orchestra teacher. It's very different being that elementary school parent versus being that junior high parent. And yes, I spent many years driving children to orchestra at junior high. And with everything, when you have a lot of people trying to get to the same place at the same time, it will always be some form of congestion. But I really, really did love your no right-hand turn into the parking lot, which I believe is actually, isn't our schools public? Isn't that considered public property, a school?
It's their own property.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, it's the school districts. All right, but I do, and I'm hoping something does help the junior high, because I don't like seeing those teachers, and they do get taxed by trying to guard our children, because there's only one crossing guard, and that crossing guard goes across Hassel. So as those kids are leaving the junior high, walking to that sidewalk in front of Ike, those teachers are protecting our children by allowing or having the cars wait. that are driving through the parking lot. And then those same children have to actually walk across that intersection at Rosedale, where all those cars are trying to turn right from Hassel or left from Hassel onto Rosedale. And those children walk that crossing walk unprotected, with no teacher, with no crossing guard. And it is in just as close a proximity to the school as the one that walks across Hassel. So anything would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there? Certainly.
Yeah, my name is Andy Michael. I'm at 1015 Mayfield Lane. My daughter is a student at Eisenhower, and I live 2 blocks west of the school. So while I rarely have occasion to actually go to the school by vehicle, the one time, at least this year, I did take her. I noticed that the biggest problem, from what I could see as I went through the right way, so to say, was the fact that the traffic backed up onto Hassel in front of the school's exit. Basically meant that all the cars waiting to get in were waiting on cars to get out, and so it was a circular feedback loop on itself, and just kind of complicated itself with that tailback all the way out onto Hassel and preventing the vehicles from getting out of the school. I believe that addressing the proposed no right turn sign at the entrance will hopefully dissuade parents from going up Rosedale and therefore backing up in front of the school, and might make things flow more smoothly for the school as well. And I'd look forward to seeing the effect as soon as possible, because I can just see the frustration of even the people wanting to go straight through on Hassel that have no interest in the school traffic at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thought that bothered me now, just as I was thinking and listening to all this too, is are we going to create a bigger problem with cars stopping on Rosedale to drop the kids off, since they're not going to, if they turn onto, since they can't turn right into the parking lot? Are we going to create a bigger traffic problem? Or is it something we're just going to have to watch and see how it goes?
Well, I don't want to say we'll just watch and see. We're certainly aware of that.
Okay.
And in fact, while I was observing traffic Friday morning, I did see some of that occurring.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was done as a matter of course or because it was taking so long for the parents to get into the parking lot.
Yeah, I think that's something we're going to have to really watch too.
Yes. But that was part of the reason there was so much congestion. People weren't moving on Rosedale.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were stopped to let kids out.
Okay, if there's no other comments on this, what's the board's feelings? How do you want to proceed?
Sounds to me like we have to postpone a vote on this until such time as they contact 211 and make sure.
No, 54.
Or 54.
54.
I'm sorry. The hours can be changed, with their consent as well.
Trustee Palafis.
I'd like to do it as soon as possible.
I agree with that also. The sooner the better.
Well, then does anybody wish to make a motion at this point? Yeah, well, that's just it. We're talking about changing the times. So if we do a motion, we would be looking at changing the recommendation from staff at this point. The first one was to restrict right turns from Rosedale Lane into the parking lot on the west side of Eisenhower Junior High. Restrictions will be in effect only on school days, and originally it was from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 1:30 to 2:30. What's board's prerogative on hours? You want to go until 3:30?
Yeah, I'll make that
This isn't
motion.
going to solve the problem with the orchestra yet. So we've got to see how that, or we take it in stages and see how this goes.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we go from 7 to 8 a.m. and 1:30 to 3.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion. And we do have a second part of the recommendation. You want to do these two separate?
I'm okay with doing them together, if everybody
The
else
other one is install a revised parking, stopping, and standing restriction signs to clarify and emphasize the existing parking restrictions near the intersections, crosswalks, and fire hydrants on Rosedale Lane and Hassel Road adjacent to Eisenhower Junior High, which is just what we were talking about. you're going to be changing the sign so it doesn't just say no parking, it'll say
if
stopping, no
necessary.
stopping, standing.
These will not require any changes to the ordinances because the areas are already posted.
Okay.
No parking.
Good. All right, so was that part of your motion?
Yeah, I'll include that as number 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, any other discussions at this point? Seeing none, look for all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. This will go to the village board meeting next Monday night, girls. Okay? And in the meantime, if staff can talk to 54, and we definitely are encouraging that this take effect as soon as possible.
I understand both of those.
Okay. All right, reports for information purposes only. We have the Transportation Division monthly report. Anything you wish to highlight on that, Mr. Hanky?
Not this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we will ask that that be filed for informational purposes, filed and recorded, accept it. President's report.
Yeah, a couple things. On Wednesday, the 13th, we have the Senior Commission Valentine's Day Luncheon. $7 to attend. It covers food and entertainment. Seating is limited and reservations are required. People can call Sue Lesson at 781-2606 for more information to register. The doors open 11:30 a.m. On Saturday, the 16th, the Cultural Awareness Commission is hosting a Black History Month event, and all are welcome to attend. It's over at the Village Hall here at 2 p.m., and all have music, entertainment, food, and African art display. This event is free to attend. This past week, had the Celtic Fest committee meeting on Tuesday, February 5th. We're rolling and expect to have another great event this year. Wednesday the 6th, we had the Northwest Municipal Conference Executive Committee meeting. And also on that day, we met with the Hoffman Estates baseball coach for a baseball community night discussion, tying in with the Play Ball initiative that the Mayor's Conference does. And on Thursday the 7th, we had employee healthy eating contest. Trustee Mills and I were able to be a judge at, and that's always a great event. On Sunday the 10th, we had the blue and gold ceremony for PAC 297, the crossover, Arrow of Light. Blue was mobbed. There's a Poplar Creek bowling alley on the top floor there, and most of us were able to attend that also. So that was good. Today we had the Pension Fairness Coalition call. And this evening, we had a foundation meeting for the Hoffman Estates Foundation, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before this committee this evening? Seeing none, we do still have our one item in review, which will be coming back in May regarding the Washington Boulevard and Alcoa Lane areas. Seeing nothing else, I look for a motion to adjourn this committee.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much for attending.
I'd like to call to order the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates on this February 11th of 2019. Roll call, please.
Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Vice Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
We do have a quorum. Looking for approval of the minutes first of January 14th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions that need to be made as a result? None? Okay, all those in favor of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now we have also the minutes for January 21st, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions in those minutes? Hearing none and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We have 3 reports. Planning Division monthly report. Any question on that? Okay, that'll be received and filed. The second is the Code Enforcement Division monthly report. Anybody have any questions or discussion on that? That'll be received and filed. And third is the Economic Development and Tourism monthly report. Any questions on that one? No? Okay, then that's received and filed. President's report?
Nothing else, Trustee Stanton.
Thank you. We have nothing in other or items in review, so looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Or I should say, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now we're adjourned.
No, it's official.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call the General Administration and Personnel Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates for February 11th, 2019. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Vice Chairman Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. If I can get a motion for the approval of the minutes for January 14th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We have two new items under new business. Number one is a presentation for the Cook County Forest Preserve Strategic Plan. Do we have anybody here from Forest Preserve? Yes, we do. If you can please state your name and your address for us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, my name's John McCabe. I am the Director of the Department of Resource Management at the Forest Preserves of Cook County. Hello, Mr. Jenner, how are you? My address is 640 Cosman Road. I live in Elk Grove, so I'm a neighboring community of yours. Mayor, Chairman, trustees, staff, member of the public, thank you very much for allowing me to come here tonight. My presentation it's only about 30 minutes, but the good news is I'm going to get it done in under 10, okay? Just reaching out to say hello. You have a lot of Forest Preserve District property within your village, and we're going around to local communities in Cook County just saying hi and letting people know about the Forest Preserve.
I thought you were going to give it back to us.
Yeah. First thing I want to start with is the district's mission, just briefly, to acquire, restore, and manage lands for the purpose of protecting and preserving public open space. That's our main goal, especially in the Department of Resource Management. That's what we are most interested in. A lot of people interact with the Forest Preserve in different ways. I'm going to touch on some of those things as I move through this particular presentation. The Forest Preserve District was started in 1915. We just celebrated our 100-year anniversary a couple of years ago. We are the oldest and largest forest preserve in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that. When you think about having 70,000 or almost 70,000 acres in the second most populated county in the United States, it's pretty impressive. And the fact that we've managed to hold on to these lands, or in some cases, I guess, maybe take some of them, we've been able to preserve them and keep them in good shape. The strategic plan that was sort of referenced as the reason for knocking on your door is the Next Century Conservation Plan. This was put into place in February of 2014 now, almost 5 years ago today, or this month. That really set a vision for the district for the next 25 years and a shorter term 25-year, 100-year plan. And when you think about the district as being over 100 years old, we didn't have a guiding document like this. And not that we weren't doing things in the right way or in the right direction, but this really provided buy-in from outside agencies, partner organizations, stakeholders, the general public, all participated in putting this particular plan together that is now the guiding document for the district. This particular map here, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, shows the village boundaries. It's sort of not perfect to see, but you can see a lot of green in there encompassing a lot of the Forest Preserve properties. These next couple of pictures are Shoe Factory Road Nature Preserve, which I know is just outside the municipal boundaries, right on the south side of Shoe Factory Road. The trail that you were talking about earlier is just on the north side. One of the best views in all of Cook County is at the top of this hill. If you haven't made it out there, certainly do that. It's a beautiful view, not just of the Forest Preserve, but of the village of Hoffman Estates as well. A couple of the key components of the strategic plan, it was really broken down into four sort of silos that we focused on. The first, and in my opinion, the most important piece is the nature piece. Okay, if we don't protect a resource, we don't have a forest preserve that people could visit and can use. So one of my most important goals as it relates to the nature piece is that we're to restore 30,000 acres in the next 25 years. So that's a pretty ambitious goal when you think about 70,000 acres and then restoring 30,000 acres. Another component that's really important is the people piece. We can't get anywhere without the support of people, and especially people like yourselves and local communities that have buy-in with what we're doing here at the Forest Preserve and protecting the resource. Leadership. Administrations change, we know that, and in order to keep things going in the right direction, we need to address the leadership piece. One of the key components that came out of this was the creation of the Conservation and Policy Council, which is a council that guides the Forest Preserve and the Forest Preserve Board of Commissioners to make sure we stay on track with implementing the Next Century Conservation Plan. And then, of course, the economy piece. We all know we can't do anything without the resources and the funding necessary to make things happen. The other thing that we're trying to do when we reach out to local communities is to have them try to recognize the value that the Forest Preserve provides from an economic standpoint. People come to picnic in the Forest Preserve, they come to ride on those bike trails, and when they do those things, they stop at businesses in your communities. They get gas for their cars, they buy supplies for their picnics, they buy fishing supplies to fish in the lakes, bike shops, all those kind of things at the local communities. So it's certainly something that we're hopeful communities recognize and help us support. The main thing, again, going back to the nature piece for me, that the Forest Preserves provide that you just can't find anywhere else, are natural communities like the woodlands, savannas, wetlands, and prairies that are found throughout the Forest Preserve. And if we weren't here, these communities would have been gone by now. Another thing that we provide a home for are threatened and endangered species, whether it's the plant side, the insect side, or what more people are sort of recognize at least is the animal side. A lot of sightings of bald eagles recently in the Forest Preserve, and that furry little friend down there in the right-hand corner, the river otter, which isn't a threatened and endangered species, but it's a rare species, and most recently returned to the Forest Preserve District over the last couple of years. And then, of course, we have the not-so-threatened and endangered species that I'm sure many of you hear about quite a bit, right? If I got paid for the amount of times I responded to raccoon, skunks, and coyote requests, I would be a millionaire 100 times over. White-tailed deer is another thing we get a lot of questions about, and then, of course, the coyotes. So they look really cute when they're puppies, but when they get older, that's when people start ringing your phones, I'm sure, as well as ours. The other thing that people don't necessarily think about when it comes to the Forest Preserve are the ecosystem services that we provide. So some people say, well, I never use the Forest Preserve, why should I care about it? Well, even if you don't use the Forest Preserve, it's providing benefits to you or your family if you live anywhere near it. It's cleaning our air that we breathe. It's providing the cooling effect from the development that surrounds it. And if you have a home and you have any issues with flooding, it's providing stormwater storage. And if we weren't here, it would be even worse for people who have flooding issues now. So just briefly, that's a small amount of what we do on the ecosystem benefit side of things. Another key component for us is the habitat restoration piece. There was this thought many, many years ago that you could just preserve it. We could call it the Forest Preserve, put a fence around it, and just let it go. But we found out that that isn't the case, and that we have to apply management strategies to our lands to keep them healthy. This particular picture you're looking at here is Bluff Spring Fen, which is out in Elgin, but a site that's had a lot of management work over 20 to 25 years. The 30,000 acres I mentioned before that I'm tasked with starting the restoration work on over the next 25 years, because I will not be at the Forest Preserve when that 25 years expires, allowed us to develop this plan, the Natural and Cultural Resources Master Plan, where we were able to develop a prioritization process now in how we are going to tackle that 30,000 acres. Because people would say, what do? Just throw a dart at the map and that's where you're going to start? No, it's not. We worked with the Prairie Research Institute out of the University of Illinois to develop a science-based prioritization process where we're working with our most sensitive ecological properties to protect those first, working our way out and starting to connect the dots across those 30,000 acres. In this picture here, you see the before. We cleared the brush underneath, and then the next picture next to it is the after picture a couple of years down the road. So everybody understands the sort of thought process around, clearing the brush and getting it out of there, and it doesn't look good right away. It takes a couple of years for things to recover. And getting buy-in from people to recognize that has been a key component for us to be successful in a lot of the restoration work that we've already done across the Forest Preserve. And another reason why we're touching base with you is we're doing a lot of work in and around this particular area. Another key component to what we do is prescribe fire on the habitat restoration side. And over the years, I've been with the district now going on just over 25 years. We've worked a lot with the Hoffman Estates Fire Department over the years. And they're been a good partner of ours, whether it's responding to a wildfire situation on one of our properties or while we're conducting prescribed burns. This particular picture is of Bussey Woods, right along the north side of Higgins Road, just east of Route 53. So we're burning right off a major road here, and this is just commonplace for us across the preserves. Another key component of the Forest Preserves, especially from the land management side of things, is our stewardship program. We have one of the largest and most successful stewardship, ecological stewardship programs in the country. Other agencies modeled their programs after ours. And we have a lot of stewardship activities in and around the Hoffman Estates area where people are coming out at least 2 weekends a month, sometimes 3 or 4 weekends a month to remove invasive species off forest preserve property in these communities. There's a lot of other volunteer opportunities though, whether you like to seed sort, you don't have to be outside. You could be a trail watch person, you could be a docent at one of our nature centers. There's all kinds of opportunities for people to volunteer at the Forest Preserve. Outdoor recreation, though, is how most people know us. If I could get more people to recognize the importance of the birds and the bees, the plants and the flowers, I would really be successful at my job. But the fact of the matter is, we engage most people through the outdoor recreation piece. How many of you have been to the Forest Preserves for a picnic? Okay, yeah, almost everybody has at one time or another passed through the Forest Preserve for a picnic. Our bike trails, the Poplar Creek Bike Trail, which this trail spur you were talking about before is going to connect to, is one of our coolest bike trails in the entire system. And I've ridden every one of our trails across the whole 70,000 acres. It is one of the coolest trails, and it's great that we're going to get this connection done and bring people into that system from the neighborhood there to the west. So I'm not going to read all this, but over 40 managed lakes for recreational fishing, 3 aquatic centers, 4 model boating areas, boat rentals, canoe and kayak rentals at places like Bussey Lake, which isn't too far from here. As I mentioned, over 300 picnic groves, 10 golf courses, one of which is adjacent to your holdings, Highland Woods Golf Course. Model airplane field, one of those is here in Hoffman Estates off of Shoe Factory Road. Sledding hills, cross-country skiing, zip line, foot and disc golf. Another thing people don't know about the Forest Preserve is our 5 campgrounds. We recently renovated these as part of the centennial process. The one nearby here is Camp Reinberg, which is up in Palatine in our Deer Grove Forest Preserve. And some of these places are not really like camping. The cabins are very, very nice. They're heated. You could be camping there today and you would be very comfortable. The shower and restroom situations are all brand new, very, very nice setup. So a very inexpensive way to get out for the weekend if you're looking to get away or take the grandkids out or your kids out and you don't have time to drive up to Wisconsin or over to Michigan or Indiana or something along those lines. Very, very nearby. Our 6 nature centers are also an excellent gateway for us to engage people. The one nearest here is Crabtree Nature Center, which is right up in Barrington, right off of Palatine Road, just west of Barrington Road. Almost everything you do there is free. So you can go there 7 days a week, walk the trails, utilize the building, and then attend any special events, and almost everything there is free. Another thing that we do a lot of is education and outreach, and whether that's having school groups come to our nature center or having a naturalist or one of our staff members come to a school and provide programming. So that's something that we're always interested in, and I know we've done some work with some of the elementary schools here in Hoffman Estates as well. Special events is another way we reach a lot of people. Out at the Forest Preserves, we host special events throughout the Forest Preserve at different times of the year based on different things. And so getting people to come out to that is a way, again, from an economic standpoint, those people are stopping in your community as well. So hopefully we can get people to come out and stop in your community. Another thing people don't realize about the Forest Preserve is that the Brookfield Zoo and the Chicago Botanic Garden are part of the Forest Preserve. We own the property that both of those facilities sit on, and we have a phenomenal partnership with them. While they manage their day-to-day operations and raise a large part of their funding, we provide from our operating budget a significant amount of funding to help those partners of ours continue to do what they do, which is 2 world-class operations. So 100 plus years of the Forest Preserve, and do we have 100 more? Well, a lot of that's going to depend on what happens with the next Century Conservation Plan. This is a plan that has not been sitting on the shelf. We've been working on it. We have been actively engaged in the restoration piece along with many of the other components in there. And the fact of the matter is, if we don't manage these properties and provide the support and the funding that's necessary, they're going to go away. In this particular picture here, which that slide was supposed to transpire into the slide on the 2015 from 1843. So everything in red is developed land. And the little bit of green that you see in that red block is the forest preserve. And let's all be honest with each other, if we hadn't protected it and they hadn't started setting it aside in 1915, that would all be gone now because it would be too valuable of a property from a development standpoint. We recognize that piece. So you look at 11% of the county is all we managed to protect, and thankfully that we did for everybody that's here now, and hopefully those will be here from 100 years from now, which certainly won't be me. So thank you for your time, and I will entertain any questions if you have them, please.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Nothing? Palafis? Trustee Palafis?
I did a survey a while back, and I don't know how they had my information. Is that part of what went into your plan, was the survey? And did you, I'm a biker, so I bike through the 3 different forest preserves in this area quite a bit. And then the connecting trails. So I was just curious, like, what were some of the top things that came out of that survey?
I'm not 100% sure what survey you're referring to. I know we've done a couple that are tied to whether it was the Next Century Conservation Plan. Some of it's just tied to trail count work or work that we're going to be doing on the trail. So I'm not 100% sure what kind of questions it was asking you.
Yeah, I was asking, like, do you use the bike trails? Do you use the airplane,
Okay.
fields? It was just how new ways you could use, the forest preserves and ideas. So I don't know which one that would be tied to, but it was a great survey. And it was just, after you hit send, you just kind of wonder in the ether where it goes to and what it becomes of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Before I step down, I would just like to share with you our 2019 calendar. I know we've already lapped a month off the year, if you could believe that, right? But we have these for free, and the calendar has special events that are listed out in each month on here and where they're located. And there's a photo for each month that we do a photo contest with the general public, and then we select the winning photos. So I have a bunch here that I'll leave with some of your staff that you can have for yourselves and share with the general public or residents of Hoffman Estates.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time to come out and talk to us. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will go on to item number 2, request approval of a resolution supporting the Northwest Municipal Conference 2019 legislative program and the 2019 Illinois Municipal League state, federal, legislative agendas and discussion regarding the legislative update. Does
So
staff have
moved.
anything?
Yes.
Request.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Does staff have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Arnett. In your packets tonight are the legislative agendas from the Northwest Municipal Conference and from the IML, the Illinois Municipal League. In the past, the board has supported these legislative agendas through a resolution. There's a draft resolution also attached to your agendas, should the committee wish to consider that. The other piece to the agenda item is the updated legislative update, and if anybody has any questions on it, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
So do we need to do 2 different?
One is really just for discussion. The second half, the first half is the consideration of a resolution if you want to support the conference and the municipal league and their agendas that they're putting out for 2019.
Okay, so we only need to do a vote on one.
Right.
Okay.
I will so move.
Well, I think you already did,
I think, yeah, trustee.
and you seconded it.
Yeah. I
So-
thought that was on the program and not the resolution, but.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. And we don't need anything for the second half, right?
No.
Okay. We'll go on to the reports for information only. Number 1 is the cable TV monthly report. Anything to add or anything? Okay. We will receive and file that report. And number 2, human resources monthly management report. Anything to add, Patrick? Okay. We will receive and file that. Number 3, legislative operations and outreach monthly report. And we will go ahead and receive and file that. Anything in President's report?
Nothing else, Chairman Arnett.
Okay, there's nothing in other, no items in review, and if I can have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.